Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It is Friday, February 2. It is just coming on 6 a.m., and you have survived and made it through the busiest week, the biggest week of your lives up until this point, as far as it comes to trading. Everybody has reported, and I am here to give you a quick update before you go into Friday with your button pushing. As you all know, over here on both my options 32 trades, all memberships are donated directly. We take care of, namely, the children. That's the focus point, is the abundance of street children that are over here. And now that I've relocated, what I have teamed up with, my brother-in-law has just driven from Manila back here, 13-hour drive on a motorcycle. Just arrived here today, head contractor. So he will be in charge. And tomorrow and Sunday, we are going to be building two houses, bringing two families, one of 9 children, another one of 6 children, out of housing similar to this, which is actually a pretty nice house compared to where they live, and moving them into something like this, which is a typhoon-proof, well-ventilated, solar-powered house. This one being large enough for a family of 4 under Filipino standards. But anyway, we're going to get that done. So I am going to be working tomorrow and Sunday until the sun goes down. And after the sun goes down, I will go ahead and do one-on-one calls, since I had the flu last week and only was able to do 2 or 3. So on to where we are. SPX, 15-point gap up, 53-point range, 60-point above the previous close, right to the FOMC gap bottom, which I'll show you in a minute. Green on the month of February, obviously, because it's the first day of the month. And we are, again, tracking that year over year. We are now plus 17.38% year over year. So something I'm just tracking just for personal use. That's all. And I'll bring you over into the alert room right there, 9 o'clock, just prior to the open. Only because I have the data is the only reason I was able to see this and be able to share it. The last 2 times the SPX had minus 1% days, they were followed with a plus 1% day. Plus 1%, 48.94.11. Be careful using it on the QQQ, and I'll get to that in a minute as we go over that. On the spreads was kind of interesting. Early, very early, 250, looking at 48.70, 48.65s. Risk trade. Would love to see 48.80. Boeing, you guys got the gap fill, and I mean, come on, this is just hilarious. How do we get that in main screen? Airlines, you tighten the bolts, right? Boeing, what bolts? Again, 8:50 in the morning, 48.70, 48.65, $3 credit. The no risk fill, no gaps fill, risk iron condor, 48.40, 48.45, 49.05, 49.10. $1.45. Did pretty well with that. So again, the last 2 days being that plus 1% day shows up. And thank you very much, Elongate, as we got under $2 down to $1.50 over there on that 48.70, 48.65. Right here at 11 o'clock. And Elongate mentioned very nicely that the dip for today should be complete. He was absolutely right. And we will go on to the spreads to see what we're talking about there. Minus 1% there on FOMC day, plus 1% yesterday, and closed well above plus 1% and over there on the safe edge. So, scheduled today is non-farm payrolls. You've got non-farm payrolls jobs reports coming out at 8:30. After that, 10 o'clock, you get the University of Michigan sentiment final for the month of January, and you get U.S. core durable goods revised. All of this data is complete fucking bullshit. I mean, you had Jerome Powell come out on Wednesday, pounding the fucking table, telling you higher for longer. We are not talking about cutting rates. Then you had the Bank of England come out yesterday morning, and there were actually 2 of the 8 members that voted for a rate hike. He came out even more stern than Jerome Powell, talking about It ain't going to happen. We ain't cutting rates. We are going to be higher for much longer. Market didn't care. So, very interestingly here, at 7:30 at night on Sunday, after the futures open, Jerome Powell is going to be speaking. Where he's speaking, what he's speaking about, I have absolutely no fucking clue, and I'm not going to worry about thinking about it because this literally hurts my brain, burns my eyeballs, spending 70, 75 hours a week trying to make sure that somebody can do a $200 trade, make $50 on it, and then complain that they could have made $200. Really, really, really fucking hurts my eyes.
Put this many hours into work. This is not good. And people should not work this hard. They should not do this. It's very painful.
Painful in what sense?
It hurts my brain and my heart.
So, on to the final stage of this, being the QQQ. QQQ, again, made it up to that 420, made it up to 422, closed at 421, filled this gap. I have my colors wrong. This is why it looks so weird to me. These are to be red, not blue. No, go back. Bear with me. I am a human being. I am not a robot or an algorithm. 1.82 gap up, meaning there is a gap to be filled there from the FOMC, plus 1%, having dropped minus 2% the day before, exactly minus 2%, and the QQQ having opened the month at 418.79 is up 4% on the year. Massive. So on to the charts, and I'm going to go through the big boys first because that was what this week was all about. You know what? Actually, I am going to start out with where the week started out. Tesla having reported earnings last week, as I said on Monday morning. The calls are the play. The calls up to 192, 192.50. With the 190 calls or the 192.50 calls, you made better than 200% on the trade. Sue me. Microsoft reported earnings, did absolutely nothing. Barely dropped down to 400, right back here where it closed on earnings, right around 407. Absolutely nothing. Over here onto Meta. And what are two things that Jeffrey Epstein and his clients and Facebook and their ad revenue have in common? Pedophilia. 462.69. In your email, you will have 3 different trades for Meta. Completely your choice how you decide to utilize that. I would strongly suggest you go with the third choice and looking at where you are coming off of the October lows into the December lows on the 90-day here. As you can see, you have progressed quite rapidly, up over 100 points from the 2024 open. Where are we here? Looking back much, much further. Meta doesn't fill gaps. Sorry. They don't. They don't fill gaps. They don't fill gaps. They don't fill gaps. They don't fill gaps, period. They don't fill gaps. That's the one I'm looking for. Oh, that one. I got to get this one off. I forget where it is because I just don't like seeing it. It's on time axis. Options, study, rollover lines. There, expiration Fridays, whatever it is. There it is. They're off. Coming off your October lows last year. 1, 2, big 3, big 4, and humongous fucking 5. And I haven't counted this length or any distance, but yeah, call Facebook, whatever you want. That's where you're at coming into our week to date and looking at your big move off of minus 400 from the earnings. There are 2 trades that I will have there on Meta and a third trade, including Meta, which is kind of the same thing that we've been pounding the table on for quite a long time now. Microsoft, again, nothing. Meta, go on here. Apple shit the bed. Not only did Apple shit the bed, fill that gap that they created when they ran that run up here to 196, but Apple has broken below the 50 retracement back to the October lows, well below the 50-day moving average. In fact, I will throw this up here because it is applicable. Apple below the 10, 50, 5, 20, 100, and 200-day moving averages, with the 200-day moving average being there at the 50 retracement at 182.46. Keep looking over at SMCI. Minus 10%, 179.66. I do not have a trade for you on Apple, but I have something that is included with Apple, which is in your email. Google had your earnings, had your massive drop down after earnings, and are floating around nowhere just above the 50-day moving average. No trade on Google, but I have something that includes Google that is in there. AMD, humongous nice drop down to 160 minus, didn't quite get a little bit lower like we wanted. They filled the earnings gap on the run up yesterday, and again, don't have a trade for you on AMD unless you want to sell the 175 calls, buy the 177.50 calls, collect the credit on it, but there's a trade with AMD that's included in it. And bring you on to Lululemon, which I had to replace Google or NVIDIA to put Lulu on here because, as you saw already, got the alarm for the trigger, boom, 450, anything 450 or above, 2,000%, 2,000%, 2,000%. So now that we have gotten, here, final, Amazon. Amazon closed below 160. Amazon had a nice move up to 174.50. Liked where it got. Fading here very slowly overnight. Fading very slowly overnight. There's a trade on Amazon, two different trades that you can take. There's a trade on Amazon, which is not Amazon, but includes Amazon. So it's up to you how you want to do it. And then that's it. We've finished off with Tesla. So I can get this done and move it back, put it back on my other screen, and bring you on to where we are with the big boys. So here's your IWM. IWM been pretty flat, holding this 195. Lose 195, lose 187. You know what's coming. Here's your SPX. Excuse me. Here's your SPX. Can't count it any better way. Have your two fibs in your alert, in your email, in your chat room. Decide to do with them what you'd like. VIX, this is Friday, and I'm going to get to this final point before my brain explodes. VIX, this is Friday. VIX, we're at 1387. VIX, we are above 1339, but we are below 1451. We are still on that 50-yard line area, which brings me into QQQ. QQQ, as I discussed, very possible two different counts. Don't know what they are until we actually resolve them. In regular hours, 422.87, we have held that. Over here into, where are you? Here. SPY. After hours. New all-time highs. SPX, right up to that gap top. IWM, floating around, right on that 195. And here is your big daddy being the QQQ with everything inside the QQQ, and you do not have new all-time highs on the QQQ. This should be a little bit of an alarm, a little bit of a warning for you. With 421.88 having been the close, we have the jobs report that's coming out prior to the open. And again, with this count, it can go either way. Doesn't necessarily mean to be that it's resolved or it's in the middle because it's a work in progress. But again, you break down below the lows from earlier in the week, and you're looking at that 413. You break that 413, you're looking at that old 408.71 with the gap going down there to 405. There, you resolute on 402.92. From that, completely up to you how you want to go and interpret that move that's come all the way off of October, but I'll share a little clip in here from a person who gave me my first job, and you can make a decision for yourself. The only thing I will leave you with, the only thing I can leave you with here is, since the October 27 low, since we had the bottom there when Israel decided to go and genocide Gaza. 4103.78 on the SPX was the bottom. On that day, Friday, we closed red. We closed red minus 0.36, less than 1 point on the Friday of OPEX in December 15th. On the final Friday of the year, December 29th, let me make sure about that. I'm pretty sure it was, but I want to make sure. Yes, it was a Friday, December 29th. We closed minus 13.52 on that Friday. Green, green, green. Last week, we closed down 3 points on that Friday. So closing red on Fridays is not a tradition on the SPX since we've had that October bottom. Bearing in mind, the week begins at 48.92.95. A close above 48.92.95 will induce a fourth consecutive green week. We've done the math, we've done the numbers, we've done all the counts on that. Nothing else that we can say about it, especially with the upside pivots and the upside Fibonacci's, which we've shared already, for how high this should and could possibly go on the SPX. It's Friday. Choose your buttons the way you want to choose your buttons. You want to choose 0 DTE? Go ahead. You want to choose a little bit further out, 1 week, 2 week? Go ahead. You want to choose 1 or 2 months out? Go right ahead as well. In this video clip here in the end, you can pretty much decipher who are the short-term traders and who are the further out traders. Have a great weekend.